Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and I am all that is snowboard gear polyamory. And today I want to talk about the slight tweaks to the Ride Torrent for 2026. And I think that have been around since like 2025. I rode these a few years ago, so I thought I'd update this review. And while this is still a super burly boot with a lot of rubbery plastic around the heel and toe area, made to withstand riding on a snowmobile much better than most snowboard boots out there, it feels just a little bit more refined, and it's still a great medium flexing high-end boot that has a more natural, wider fit right out of the box that doesn't require as much heat molding as many of the other ride boots do. It has pretty good shock absorption, a little bit of articulation for a longer lasting flex, with what I think is some extra boot longevity tech than before. And it has this nice adjustable back for your calf, as well as something that helps with touring if you're into that. So overall, it's still a very recommendable boot, and I want to get into it and occasionally compare it against two very relevant boots, the Nitro Team TLS and the new Nidecker Rift Pro, a more responsive version of the Nidecker Rift. And these are boots I'm going to be recommending a lot, so I thought I'd add this to the comparison. I only got one day on these, but I didn't really need to, just because they're basically the same boot as the old Torrent, with just some minor tweaks to the shell construction. These have the same exact fit, feel, and flex, response, everything as the old Torrent that I rode like 30 to 50 days, and I used that boot like half a season. And this is an honest, objective review for you, the consumer. So if you want to support content like this, click through our links to our sponsor, Blower Board Shop, a great family-owned shop that's been selling to snowboarders longer than most resorts have been allowing snowboarders on the hill. That's a long time. They have a large online presence, fast shipping, great customer support, so they're very deserving of your hard-earned cash. So let's talk weight. These are 2 pounds, 5.2 ounces, which is pretty normal. In comparison to the Nidecker Rift Pro, these are 2 pounds, 7 ounces, and the Nitro Team TLS are 2 pounds, 4 ounces. So all these boots are not that heavy, but they're not super light either. In comparison to, let's say, the Ride Deadbolt, those are a little bit under 2 pounds. They're definitely a lighter boot than this. The insole here, not that special. When I rode these, I put footprint insoles in there. I think I had the Game Changer and then the King Foam Orthotic Elite that you see here. This is the thicker one. I like that much better, but no real knock against this insole, because all the insoles are bad that come with the boot. You really want to move towards an aftermarket insole. And when it comes to fit, these fit my size 9 feet really well. They almost feel true to size. I didn't feel like I needed to size up, and I didn't feel like I needed to size down. With the old Torrents with the same fit, I did have to add a little boot fitting foam in the back as the liner packed out a little bit, but I have to do that with most boots. The only boot I haven't been able to do that with is the Nitro Team TLS, which for some reason the liner does not pack out much or at all down around the foot, but at the top is super fluffy and cush and packs in a lot. This one's the opposite. It barely packs out much or at all at the top, and then only packs in a little bit at the bottom. There's not much pack out. In comparison to the Rift Pro from Nidecker, I'm not too sure how well it's gonna pack out, but in the past, riding the regular Rift, it did pack in a little bit, and I did have to add some boot fitting foam like I did this, but not a lot. And when it comes to width, all three of these boots did really well with my size E width feet. What I really liked about these is, unlike many ride boots, this liner has a lot less foam on the sides, and it fit my E width really well. With many ride boots, they're puffy along these sides, and in order for me to feel comfortable and not have the sides of my feet cramp up, I had to do an extensive heat mold and pressed out those sides. Then they felt great. But with this, day one, I was good to go. Same with these two, and I really like that. That's uncommon. A C to an E is really gonna shine here. Now, when it comes to the lacing system, you have upper and lower separation. Then inside, you have a nice harness with a pretty typical ride fastener. And while I don't like this zip over, if you ever break the lower BOA lacing system, it's going to be very hard to repair, but at least you have a nice waterproof barrier, and the upper and lower separation is exceptional. Not the best for really locking in around your ankle and preventing heel lift, but you can always add some boot fitting foam in the shell to pinch this area. A lot of people don't think about that, often end up buying a new boot when they don't need to and spend too much money. And it's pretty quick on and off. Not the fastest on because your BOA takes a little while to dial out in the beginning of the day, but at the end of the day, it's just pop, pop, and pop, and you're good to go. Now let's talk flex and response. There's decent forward flex. It's now a 7 out of 10. I think when this came out, it was more a 6 out of 10. So there's a touch more support response. But overall, I really like the old one, and I like this new one too. And I personally like that they have a high-end boot that isn't ultra stiff like an 8 or 9 out of 10. I like that it's a 7, and over time this breaks down a little bit. That's what I felt, and gets a little softer, and that's fine though. It has good response, good leverage, and it will keep its flex for a long time. First off, you have this rubber backstay with a lot of rubber, and then a thinner rubbery strip. In the past, my old Torrent, I don't think had this. I think it had more of like a laminate as opposed to actual rubber. Even though it's light, it's gonna help keep the spine from breaking down. Then you have these articulation points. And while this doesn't have the slime wall of the Insole or the Fuse, which I would love to see that urethane tongue throughout here to really retain the flex, it holds its flex really well. And this aggressive rubber are not going to wear down and create holes as easy as many other boots. But in comparison to the Nidecker Rift Pro, this is all rubber on the bottom with the exception of this area. And this has a fully articulating cuff with a little bit of rubber up the back, more so than this. This is gonna last longer. Same with my Nitro Team TLS. They have even more in the back. Great articulation points here. This is after like 60 days. There's no shell distortion. It's looking great. It has a little wear in places around the toe and little places throughout the boot, but overall it's holding up incredibly well. So all three of these are gonna do pretty well. This isn't gonna do as good as these and as good as some ride boots, but it's gonna be better than boots like the Deadbolt and their newer stuff without a slime wall tongue. But I like that little bump to the response and flex, and I think a lot of other people out there will as well. You get pretty good shock absorption here in the heel. It was a lot better than my Fuse, and one of the reasons why I went to this a while. However, in comparison to the Nidecker Rift Pro, you get a much more shock absorbent sole and midsole with this. And then this is near the pinnacle in terms of shock absorption with this airbag. There isn't a lot of shock absorption on the front end, so it's a nice balance between board feel and shock absorption. This has a little more shock absorption on the front than the Team, where you don't need it as much, but it's nice to have it. And there's a little less board feel, but it's not too soft to make it feel squishy and dead. Same with these. All of these aren't terrible, but you're looking at these boots because you want more shock absorption. If you want a stiffer, thinner sole that has more instantaneous transfer, you want to look to other boots like the Ride Fuse or the Insanos or the Lasso Pros. They all have a stiffer sole and have a little more board feel. It's about 30.1 centimeters, which is just about the same footprint of the Nidecker Rift Pro BOA at 30.2 centimeters. But in comparison to the Nitro Team TLS, Nitro Team BOA, and Nitro Team Lace, you're looking at 29.5 centimeters. So dropping half a centimeter really matters in snowboarding and makes a big difference in terms of overhang. That's a big difference in terms of footprint and toe heel drag. Millimeters matter in snowboarding. So not the best in terms of footprint, and these are pretty warm boots, so I think a lot of people might like that if you like warmth over footprint. Then there are these cool features like you can adjust this to your calf size, which is great. It used to have 2 adjusters, one on each side. Now it only has 1, which is more than fine. And what I found too is when I did some uphill travel, I just undo the Velcro and leave it all the way out. So I had a touch of negative flex to allow a little easier touring. And then I just tighten it up at the top. It's maybe not what it's made for, but I love that they have it. And I love this calf adjustability to really dial out the feel around your boot along with the BOA and the back. It's like having an adjustable heel loop in a binding. It just makes everything a lot better. So overall, these boots were very recommendable in the past and still are now. A touch more response, a little more flex retention, minor tweaks, and just a great boot all around. It's very recommendable, especially if you like ride boots with a liner that fits a wider foot right out of the box and good medium response with high-end construction. You have the Torrent. There you go.